I couldn't believe that my ex-husband was getting married to my sister shortly after he announced his intention to divorce. My sister did this to hurt me, as she has done all her life. After my father's death, I thought that the inheritance would be divided fairly, but nothing could be further from the truth. I was left empty-handed, and the new couple got everything. I felt betrayed. Months later, I found a letter in my father's office where I read shocking things. I decided to go to court straight away. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. I had talked to my father about what had happened before he passed away, and he was very much on my side, but that had sadly not been the case at all. When the lawyer finally got to my name, I was ready to hear that I was now a millionaire. But he said that all I got was my father's very old and worn-down second home in the countryside. A gasp of shock was audible in the room, as nobody expected that this would happen. It was a piece of junk. Why the hell would my father give me this and only this? And just when I thought it could not get worse, the Elwayer got to my sister, and I had to hear that she and my ex were getting most of our father's fortune. The smiles on their faces still haunt me to this day. I complained to the lawyer and told him that he had to be mistaken, but there was no way around it. My father had come to him to change his will just 2 weeks ago and specifically told him that this was how he wanted it. Now my horrible sister and ex are on a nice vacation in anticipation of all the money they are about to receive. And when I managed to finally get over the shock of everything that happened, I was finally able to drag myself to the worn-down house that I inherited. This house looked like nobody had been here in years. It had been partly reclaimed by nature and looked like it was on the brink of falling apart. Anything of value here had probably already been picked clean. What the hell was I even doing here? But with nothing better to do, I still decided to go in. I needed to decide what would be my next course of action with the house. And even though I was sure that there was nothing of value around here, I could not help but check everything, and there was actually a lot to be found here. But most interestingly, a lot of the cabinets seemed to be filled with old documents, detailing a lot of old information about Dad's businesses. A lot of this seemed at least a little bit confidential. So why would he keep all of this lying around in a house everybody could break into? I had walked up to my father's old office, and this room looked a bit different than most other rooms. Pulled the drawer. There was a letter in there, a very large letter, and it actually had my name written on it. The paper, crisp and untainted, was adorned with elegant cursive bearing my name. Why would a letter addressed to me be secreted away in this nearly forgotten office? Was it truly from my father? If so, what secrets could it hold? A thought crossed my mind, to put the letter back, to leave it unread, untouched, but such a thought was fleeting. I chose instead to slip it carefully into my bag. The house, dilapidated and overrun by nature, was not the place to read such words. I felt the need for the sanctuary of my own space, away from the memories and ghosts that clung to every corner of this place. As I moved from room to room, it became clear that this house was more than just a decaying structure. Every nook and cranny was a treasure trove, each discovery a journey back in time. My suspicions were confirmed when I stumbled upon a hidden latch behind an old bookshelf. Pushing it aside revealed a doorway, leading to rooms untouched by the years. Inside, everything was pristine, as if they'd been frozen in time, awaiting rediscovery. These hidden chambers were filled with artifacts of an era long gone. Elegantly crafted jewelry boxes, clothing from past decades, and even old toys that I recognized from tales my father once shared. Handling these relics, I felt a surge of emotions: joy, sorrow, longing. It was as if I was holding tangible pieces of my family's legacy, each item echoing tales of triumphs, trials, and love. Subtle hints pointed to my sister and ex-husband's visits to the house years ago. Their knowledge, which they'd always downplayed, now took on new significance. What had they known that I hadn't? Alex pointed out newspaper clippings showcasing my sister and her husband's sudden rise in society, lavish parties, international trips, and luxury acquisitions. But how? Each discovery painted a troubling picture. Rare antiques, some possibly sold off, others hidden away, all pointing to my sister and ex's secret endeavors. As I mapped out the timeline, a chilling narrative unfolded. From selling off treasures to manipulating local legends, their involvement was deep and calculating. The house wasn't just a place of fond memories, it was a trove exploited by those closest to me. Determined, I knew I had to bring the truth to light, no matter the cost. Despite the many mysteries surrounding the old house, one thing remained at the forefront of my mind: the unopened letter. Steeling myself for whatever revelations lay within, I decided the time had come. No more hiding, no more running. The letter had waited long enough. My hands trembled slightly as they grasped the edge of the envelope. I unfolded the paper, my heart pounding with every crease I smoothed out, preparing to immerse myself in its revelations. The depth of his love and concern became evident. He had changed his will, not out of favoritism, but out of a desire to keep me safe. He wrote of threats that loomed, of promises made in shadowed corners, and how he had to make choices, sacrifices, to ensure I wouldn't bear the consequences of his actions. While the house held material wealth, its greater value was in the secrets it protected: documents, leverage over influential figures, and evidence of deeds that could topple empires were all hidden within its walls. My father's letter revealed that the real treasure wasn't gold or jewels, but the power that came from knowledge. The house had witnessed decades of covert meetings, hidden agendas, and confidential exchanges. It wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was a sanctuary that safeguarded the most sensitive of truths. The knowledge gleaned from the letter and the house's many secrets solidified my resolve. I couldn't stand idly by, letting deceit prevail. The search for the right lawyer was painstaking. We met numerous attorneys, some skeptical, others dismissive. But finally we found someone, a seasoned, sharp-witted lawyer named Mr. Harris. He had a reputation for championing the truth and was unyielding in his pursuit of justice. As I laid out my story, his eyes narrowed, the glint of a challenge igniting within. As Mr. Harris delved into the evidence, he became more convinced of the legitimacy of my claim. The courtroom date loomed, casting its shadow of uncertainty. But I felt a calm determination. The moment had arrived. With bated breath, I watched as Mr. Harris presented the letter to the court. Each word echoed in the vast room, revealing my father's fears, hopes, and the secrets he had tried to shield me from. There was no escape from the truth now. I locked eyes with my sister, seeing her once familiar face contort in guilt and fear. The weight of her actions bore down on her. Beside her, my ex-husband struggled to maintain his composure. As their betrayals were unveiled, the courtroom became a theater of raw emotions and confessions. The gavel's final strike marked the end of a grueling battle. The verdict was in my favor. Justice had prevailed. The court had seen through the layers of deceit, granting me my rightful inheritance and vindicating my father's wishes. As I walked out of the courtroom, the old house now held a new meaning for me. It was no longer just a building filled with secrets, but a testament to my father's love and sacrifice. His actions had not been of a man involved in shady dealings, but of a father striving to protect his child. The legacy he left behind was not just of wealth, but of enduring love.